Welcome to Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet where the campaign is actually a sharp, riveting documentary about our current political system. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm your host, Chad, and today we're talking about the Will Farrell, Zach Galifianakis comedy, The Campaign.
And on Thursday, we're going to be reviewing Darksiders 2, released for Xbox, PS3, and yeah.
Yeah, cool. So as always, you can check us out on Twitter at Epic Geek Out. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button above our heads.
You could like us on Facebook, and then you could also check out our website, www.epicgeekout.com. Let's get into our review of The Campaign. So The Campaign stars Zach Galifianakis and Will Farrell as competing opponents, I guess.
Political opponents.
Opponents running for a Congress seat. Will Ferrell's character is a 5-time incumbent, I think, and he was planning on just winning the race unopposed just because they didn't have an opponent. Basically then, Dan Aykroyd and John Lithgow's characters decide to get Zach Galifianakis in the race and support him because they think that he could probably be his puppet. Hilarity ensues or does not. Chad, what is your opinion on The Campaign?
It existed for me. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy groundbreaking. I laughed a couple times. I felt like it wasn't as bad as I was anticipating it being. Will Farrell he hasn't been the same recently. From the first time I saw the trailer, I just was not thinking it was going to be funny. It surprised me in some areas, but a lot of the time I just kind of sat there disgusted a lot of what was going on the screen. A lot of morally, I think they're just trying to outdo themselves, like, what's the most ridiculous situation that we can put on screen?
Yeah, it definitely started here and went...
Yeah, I mean, it took it to that one level a little bit too far at points. And I'm someone who, I'm not a prude, I find things hilarious, but there's some like really awful things that these people do, and then they just keep going,
and you can do awful things, but if it makes sense to the story,
right?
Whereas one of the awful things that are in this movie would have completely derailed any actual campaign.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's another point. Is basically all the situations are completely absurd and would never happen in a real campaign. I'm not thinking that it's gonna be a factual telling of exactly what's going on in a campaign. But at the same time, it does take you out of it at points when you're like, if this happened in real life, this guy would never ever be able to run for office in any situation.
I mean, if someone walked up and shot someone,
they
would have to withdraw their name.
Legally, you would go to jail. But I mean,
Cheney only shot his friend. At least he wasn't running against him. So
I mean, there's just so much wrong with that. But at the same time, there were some funny ideas. Not everything was completely spoiled by the trailer, which was nice. I mean, a lot of the jokes in the trailer, they changed for the movie, because unlike Ted, where there was like one joke that was changed, but it was really just the end of the joke. This, like, the punchlines were completely different. Even though you could tell it was just stuff that he was ad-libbing, and they put some of it in the trailer, and then they saved the rest.
Can I make another point with that? Apparently, trailers, you're allowed to show someone getting shot with a crossbow on TV, which was in the trailer. He shot Will Ferrell with a crossbow, but in the movie it was a rifle.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of funny. What's allowed and what's not. But good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't call it a return to form per se for him, but I don't know if Will Ferrell just is completely irrelevant nowadays. Like, if his humor kind of ran its course, it's basically his George Bush impression that he does for his stuff. As you said, Zach Galifianakis, kind of his Ferns thing.
So and behind the Ferns is internet, I think YouTube thing that Zach Galifianakis does, and it's kind of this character which is very similar to the character in this movie. Also very similar to Alan in The Hangover and the character he played in Due Date. It
is a character for sure. I mean, it's like its own thing. And it was entertaining at times, but times it was just like completely ridiculous. I mean, it's not good by any means, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I don't know if that speaks well to the movie, but I wasn't completely disappointed. There was times when I was laughing and enjoying myself, but overall, no.
Yeah, I mean, we only really decided to see this. I forget what movie came out the same week as this, and we didn't review it because we refused to go see Premium Rush. Sorry, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Just that bike movie looked awful. But I was originally excited when I remember back in the day reading on a Slash Film article that they're going to be in a movie together. Mm-hmm. Then the trailers came out, and it just didn't look good.
It was.
But I did enjoy the movie. It is definitely not a movie where I'm going to say go out and see it. I mean, it's an hour and 37 minutes, I think, something around that time. And it's just, it's a comedy, and it's one of those that it just throws jokes out, I think, a lot and see what'll stick. I was laughing a lot more than anyone else in the theater. I don't think it really worked with everyone in the movie theater, but
yeah.
I mean, it was better than some of like Will Ferrell's recent things. I mean, I haven't seen Casa de Mia Padre or whatever that is, but I'm sure this is better than that, and it's complete conjecture. But like, it definitely isn't him back true to form. But I think that you made a point that I don't think he can get back to what he was before, because I think we've grown into liking different kinds of comedies and not really, as a culture. As like the Will Ferrell thing, the shtick's done. He's gonna have to find something new. And I enjoy Will Ferrell's brand of humor too. It's just,
I'm interested to see if like Anchorman 2 is gonna. What that's.
I think people will enjoy that just because it's a return of the characters, and they are getting the whole cast back. But I can't recommend this by any means. I would say when it comes out in DVD, rent it with friends. You're going to get some laughs. A lot of Price is Right jokes in the movie. The first one cracked me up. The rest were just kind of gross. And to parrot what you said, it was just ridiculous at times. And I think that they could have made not really like... and they were going... And what bothered me is if you're going for the shock value, don't try to have it be a political satire and make these points, they could have toned it down and had it been just as funny, but when you go for the outlandish jokes, it's really, I find it to be lazy writing.
I think they could have done some really smart writing with making fun of the political system now. They could make fun of Democrats, they could have made fun of Republicans, but they really didn't have any political jokes in that sense. I don't feel like they didn't come at any of that. It was just like ridiculous stuff that
some of the supporters they came at, like the craziness, the fervor that can, like the Rainbow Doctrine, like Rainbow Land, like the book that Will Ferrell's character wrote when he was a kid, and people were like, you can't make me go to Rainbow Land, which I thought was funny, but again, it was outlandish. They could have had
smarter stuff that like a lot of the jokes were just shock value and weren't smart political jokes. They were just ridiculous and had nothing to do with politics.
And maybe they were trying to stay away from that too, because the one thing that I thought was really odd was Will Ferrell was doing his George W. Bush impression. He was.
Yeah.
George W. is Republican.
Yeah.
But they had him being a Democrat, and Zach Galifianakis' character was Republican, which just from seeing the trailers, like I thought that they were trying to put him into that Republican role. So I thought that was a very odd choice too, by the way. And maybe that was just their attempt to stay away from, this isn't a Republican versus Democrats movie, this is just go laugh kind of movie, which I appreciate too, because I really don't want to be getting my political satire from Will Ferrell or Zach Galifianakis.
I think they could have done it though where it wasn't really Democrat versus Republican. It was just making fun of both sides and making fun of politics and the fact that both sides are ridiculous.
And I think they tried to do that with the lobbyist and the fact that the lobbyists had their hands in both parties and they were supporting one, and then it's like, oh, well, let's just support the other guy. He's going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
How we can control him. And so that was maybe their attempt at it. I just don't think it succeeded.
Yeah.
And those outlandish, when you're kind of in the movie, it didn't take me out of it. It's just when I'm thinking about the movie, I'm like, well, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they were just like the fake, like not the fake ones, but the company he hired to make his ads, his like political campaign ads, were just ridiculous, and I didn't find them funny. And like there were just moments like that. So
I couldn't recommend. I don't think I would.
Not even for like $1 DVD rental. You got some laughs out of it. I would say
I would not say anyone not to see a movie like like that like for $1, but at the same time,
I thought it had enough laughs in it to rent it, as long as you don't care about the political nature of it. I'd say give it a shot.
Complete inaccuracies.
Yeah. So this is the time of the episode where we like to give our thanks. So Chad, what are you thankful for today?
I'm going to thank another website that I frequent a lot. It's called techcrunch.com, and basically it's sort of like a entrepreneurial, talking about tech startups and the going-ons of like the tech industry as a whole, and kind of more, instead of like covering like this product came out, it covers more the companies behind the products that come out. I find a lot of stuff really fascinating. If you have been following the news at all, you would have known that last week the Apple versus Samsung lawsuit wrapped up. A huge victory for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
None of my personal beliefs again behind that. It is what it is. But they had a lot of cool coverage about that, and if you want any more information about that, they cover that well. Also, a lot of really cool startups that come through there that I hear about that I find really interesting. So really, all around, just cool if you're into that kind of stuff. It kind of goes over all that geeky company stuff, which is cool. So,
yeah. So my theme for my thanks for this week are going to be things that Chad told me that were cool, that I didn't believe them, but actually are. So my first, I'm going to make this, because you did this before, but I'm going to make it a little more, I don't know, to the point or laser beam focused. I would like to say, or give my thanks to David Tennant of Doctor Who fame for being the best doctor there is. For that, I am watching Doctor Who, like we mentioned, which, again, thank you for it. Is my next Battlestar that Netflix has guided me through. Chad said it was ridiculous but good, and definitely was right. But I just got caught up to the point where David Tennant is no longer the Doctor today. I just watched his last episode, and you just got to give that guy thanks. I don't think there'll ever be another Doctor in my eyes. I mean, he played the part perfectly, and it was awesome. And some of the best episodes, just with bringing back characters and the storyline and the villains, were the last ones that I watched. So the next couple seasons have a lot to live up to.
I think it's definitely refreshing to have a show where, first of all, the plot's crazy. You don't have to worry about like taking it so in depth. Like, it's a fun, whimsical show. It's a whimsical show, and also it's nice to have a show that you have faith that's going to be on TV and you can invest your time in
forever.
Because like, you know, like a lot of shows that we start now are like, well, do we really want to invest in this show because it gets canceled or whatever? But this show's
like every
still.
Lost wannabe in the past couple years. Yeah.
Cool. So that's it for this episode. We'll be back on Thursday with Darksiders 2
and my other foot in mouth.
Nice.
You were right, Chad.
Interesting. So come back on Thursday. Thanks for watching.